Go ahead. What's going on, vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a vinyl haul showcasing all of the records that I acquired within the month of June this year in 2021. But real quick before we get into the haul, as you saw by the intro of this video, I did recently meet up with my good friend Mike over at Retro Spin Vinyl. If you want to check out his channel, I will provide a link to it in the description box below. Had a great day together. As you saw, we had a great jam session, had some great brews and food, poolside jams, and of course, we did some record shopping. What did I pick up while I was with him? You'll have to watch this video to find out. And also, I want to give Mike a major shout out because while he was in Pittsburgh some time ago for a work-related trip, he stopped over at a record store in the area called the Government Center, and he got me this right here. This is the White Stripes Icky Thump 7-inch promo picture disc. This is a very unique release to own in my White Stripe / vinyl collection. And if you know me, I've said it a million times, Jack White is the reason why I got into vinyl collecting. So thank you so much, Mike, for getting me this. This is surely one of the cooler pieces of White Stripes vinyl that I have in my collection. Good stuff. And now we get into the haul, and we have a lot to get through in this video. We have Linkin Park, we have Taylor Swift's Evermore, Black Sabbath, AFI, Kiss, Alice Cooper, and much more. It's about to go deep, so without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the latest finds. Alright guys, we are going to be kicking this haul off into high gear with some records that I got while I was in California. That is right. I went on a camping trip with my girlfriend and her family to Yosemite. It was an all-around great week, and it was a week of many firsts for me personally because it was the first time that I ever flew on an airplane, which was phenomenal. First time ever going camping. First time ever going to California. It was just an all-around fantastic time. And when the trip was booked, I thought to myself, could I bring home any records? And I didn't think too much of it until the trip started to near its date, and I decided to find a way to bring some records home. So before we headed to the campsite in Yosemite, we had to stop at the local Walmart in Fresno to pick up some various toiletries that we would need. And of course, Walmart does have a decent vinyl selection with nice exclusives. And yes, I know it is the ongoing war between indie record stores and big box, but let's face it, they have cool exclusives. What can I say? And I came close to getting this particular exclusive before on a couple of occasions, let alone just this album in general, but just for the collector in me wanted a rather unique pressing because I also knew that Target had an exclusive. There was also an indie variant that I tried to get my hands on, but it just was almost impossible. So I decided that if I saw this particular album at the Walmart that I went to in Fresno, that I would buy it. And sure enough, I did. And the album that I'm talking about is the newest album by Greta Van Fleet. This is the Battle at Garden's Gate. This is their second full-length album. Been really wanting to dig into this album. I do like Greta Van Fleet. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with them. I'll explain it at a later time. But from what I've understood from the couple of tracks that I've heard from this album, they've kind of started to steer from the kind of Zeppelin sound. Sure, there's some elements that are still in there, but I think they're trying to kind of wither away a little bit. They're trying to evolve, which is what Zeppelin basically did when they were ripping off old bluesmen in their first couple of albums, and then they started to progress their sound. It's all evolution. It all revolves. But nonetheless, I am very excited to dig into this album. It's kind of a concept album in places too, I should say. It does come with like a nice textured cover with some gold foil design there, and also with the lettering. And I should say too, the artwork on this is absolutely stunning. And it also does come with a very nice book, which has various lyrics and artwork, as well as band photos, which is quite nice. And since this is the Walmart exclusive pressing, this does come pressed on clear vinyl, which is quite nice. And I took very good care of this record while I was camping. I put it in a nice spot in our kind of tent cabin, and luckily I was able to find a way to squeeze, not literally squeeze, but put this record in my personal string bag. That way I could carry it on the plane. So needless to say, this did travel safely cross country when I came home. And speaking of coming home, we were supposed to come home on a Monday. We ran into some issues with our flight, and luckily, thanks to American Airlines for kind of setting us up with the flight on the next day, they set us up in a hotel in Fresno for another day. So we had a day in Fresno, which was super fun, and I decided since we still had our rental car, I would try to make it out to a record store. So I ended up going to Ragin' Records in Fresno. Girlfriend and I ended up shopping for about a half hour, and I managed to leave with some really cool things. And to kind of make the trip very poignant, I decided to pick up an album by a band that was from California. And I opted with Linkin Park's Reanimation. This came out back in 2002. This is basically the remixed album version of Hybrid Theory. Basically takes a bunch of songs from that album as well as the B-sides and other tracks, and it just features all kinds of different other artists featured, such as Jay Gordon. Let's see, Jonathan Davis appears on this. Mike Shinoda adds some extra production in places. All kinds of DJ work. It's a rather interesting album and a kind of an interesting alternate way to hear Hybrid Theory in general. I've been meaning to get this for a while. I've been seeing it a lot everywhere that I go, and I just figured, right place, right time. Nice gatefold sleeve, and also comes with an insert with various credits and artwork. And it does come pressed on standard black vinyl with some rather solid custom center labels. And then the other record that I got, and this was one that I was actually quite excited to see, because I remember when I went record shopping with my friend Mike over at Retro Spin Vinyl, when we went to Fidelity Records, they were playing this album in the store, and I really liked it. And I asked if it was for sale, and it was the store copy, so nonetheless, I wasn't able to snag it then, but when I saw it, it automatically just clicked in my mind. I'm like, yes, that's that record. And so I decided to bring it home with me. And it is a band called The Sword, Warp Riders. A relatively kind of modern hard rock, heavy metal band. This is kind of like a concept album in places too. Interestingly enough, side 1 is called Part 1, The Archer and the Orb, and side 2 is called Part 2, The Android and the Sword. Don't know too much about The Sword, in all honesty. This is my first album of theirs that I own in my collection, but like I said, I really enjoyed what I heard, and I believe these guys had a song called Freya in Guitar Hero 2, so that's my early connection to them. But really awesome artwork. I have to say, the front cover reminds me a little bit of Roger Dean's artwork. I should check the liner notes to see if he had done the artwork, but it says album art and sleeve designed by Dan McFarlane. So not a Roger Dean cover, but aside from the music, which I thought was fairly awesome, it was the color of the vinyl that also sold me. And this is a 10th anniversary pressing, because this came out in 2020. The original album came out in 2010. They did this special anniversary pressing, and wait till you look at the color of the vinyl. Check this out, guys. So this is like starburst colored vinyl. We have basically hues of like pink, blue, and white. Just creates these nice ripples and hazy effects on the vinyl. That is just absolutely awesome. And I'm very excited to be spinning this as well. And between Linkin Park and The Sword, those were the two records that I got over at Ragin' Records, and with these two, along with the Greta Van Fleet album, they safely made their way to New Jersey, where I live. And when I came home, I had some mail waiting for me. So I managed to dig my way through those, and we have some fantastic stuff here. Starting off with perhaps the most exciting piece that I'm going to be showing in this clip, and that is David Bowie, The Width of a Circle. Now, this is the vinyl version of the new Width of a Circle release that came out fairly recently, which is a 2 CD set, which basically almost acts as a sort of odds and sods release of all the stuff that Bowie did in 1970, whether it was singles, BBC sessions, and whatnot. It kind of brings together all of those tracks into one place. And the vinyl version that they did for the release was this 10-inch release, which was only made available through the David Bowie web store, and I can gladly say that it was very easy to purchase instead of the Brilliant Live Adventures fiasco, which was just an absolute shambles project. I'll touch on that in a different video. But unfortunately, this does not feature a good portion of what is on the 2 CD release. This basically brings together all of the new 2020 mixes that Tony Visconti did for the release. So it features 4 tracks. We have The Prettiest Star, which was released as a single in 1970. London by Tata, which was going to be the follow-up single. Never came out as a single back then. I think it came on the Sound and Vision box set from '89. It's appeared elsewhere in places. Memory of a Free Festival, which is a track from the Space Oddity album. Bowie re-recorded the track as a single, parts 1 and 2 on the A and B side. And then we have the track Holy Holy, which was released as a single towards the tail end of the year. And very solid release. Nice textured cover, too. It kind of reminds me of how The Man Who Sold the World had a textured cover, which basically, Width of a Circle, it is a song off of that album, but this also acts as a companion piece to the Man Who Sold the World album. Printed inner sleeve, various photos of Bowie in a dress, very androgynous indeed. Comes pressed on black vinyl, and as you can see, we have a modified version of the red Mercury label, but instead of Mercury, it says Bowie. Plays at 45 RPM. Very excited to play this because this is one of my favorite periods of Bowie's. It's a rather interesting period. Not quite a clear direction on what direction he wanted to go in, but I always love that hard rock sound of The Man Who Sold the World and the various tracks that appear within this era, so very happy to have that. And then from Roland Rex, we have an unofficial pressing of, and keeping it in line with the Linkin Park album that I showed earlier, check this out. Linkin Park Live in Texas. This came out back around 2004, I want to say. This was during the tour and support for their second album, Meteora. And this particular live album has a special place in my heart because my best friend, Donovan, that I've known ever since the beginning of middle school, his first favorite band when we first met was Linkin Park. And I remember when his birthday came during when we started becoming friends, I got him the CD and DVD version of this particular album, and it's never gotten an official vinyl release. Not sure if it ever will, but until then, this unofficial pressing will do me well. Unfortunately, it is not the entire show. They did not release the show in its entirety to the public as part of the regular release. I believe the extra tracks that are not featured on the release were released as part of the LP Underground fan club, but nonetheless, we have a vinyl pressing now, unofficially. As you can see there, comes in a rather nice printed inner sleeve, too, with various photos and artwork taken from the CD booklet. We also have some liner notes here. There's the track list. And this pressing comes pressed on white vinyl with a nice custom label. Very, very nice. And like I said, this has not been given an official vinyl release. Not sure if it ever will be. But if so, I'll probably end up snagging it. But until then, this unofficial pressing will do me well. And now we have the controversial part of this haul. I think this is probably going to stir up the most controversy. Not really, because I have purchased a record by this artist before. Definitely not in my streamline of listening that I go to often, but I do have to say this artist has been getting more rootsier with time, and it's thanks to my good friend Chelsea for kind of turning me onto more of her work. And if you saw back around November, I got the album Folklore, and now we have the follow-up. and the artist that I am talking about is Miss Taylor Swift. This is called Evermore, so this is a very nice, suitable follow-up to Evermore. This, I feel, is a bit more, I guess, more so in Taylor's roots, kind of, I would say, in terms of her kind of country popish sensibilities, whereas I think Folklore was very much this great kind of minimalist indie, you know, kind of album. This, I feel, is kind of more close to her standard sound, which I have to say, upon first listen, it was kind of challenging to listen to, but with time, I really kind of started to wrap my head around it more. Willow is the main single off of this. Champagne Problems is good. 'Tis the Damn Season is good fun. Cowboy Like Me is pretty good. Bon Iver is featured on here as well. The National is on a track. The female group Haim is on here as well, and there's also 2 bonus tracks on this. So solid release all around. And here is the gatefold. We have various photos of Taylor. Printed inner sleeves, which feature very nice photos as well as lyrics. I'll showcase the other one real quick. And that's a pretty cool photo there. And this particular pressing comes pressed on green vinyl with a very nice custom center label there. And definitely excited to be listening to this album once again, and also wrapping my head around it more. Because like I said, it was rather challenging at first to listen to. But nonetheless, I grew to really like it more. And hopefully I will grow to like it much, much more by spinning it on the old turntable. Alright guys, so here is a legal bootleg that I managed to snag from Roland Rex recently. Coincidentally, I got this when I was away in Yosemite. I had some cellular service for a brief portion of a day, and I was able to jump on the website when the new stuff dropped. And this is a particular release that I have been wanting to get for some time. And it was just a matter of waiting to get it for a good price and not go through the whole loopholes of paying the, you know, import shipping fees and whatnot. Just kind of waited around a little bit, but nonetheless, that day finally came, and the album that I am talking about is Black Sabbath live in Hartford 1980. This is taken from the Heaven and Hell tour, which was Ronnie James Dio's first album and tour with Sabbath. This is a broadcast recording which was done for the King Biscuit Flower Hour. Fantastic quality. It's been bootlegged for many, many years. It did see an official release partially. There's a couple of tracks from this show that were featured as bonus tracks on the recently released deluxe version of Heaven and Hell from this year. And now I guess this show has reached the legal bootleg stratosphere where it's able to be licensed by different labels and such. The label that put this copy out is Radio Sound Broadcast. I've noticed that they've done several different releases of different bands, of different shows and such, and they just happened to do Sabbath and Hartford 1980. It does feature a very cool live shot of the band on the front. And here is the back, and this is also limited to 300 copies, as you can see there. And I don't know if you can really tell on camera, but it's not often that you get bootlegs that come in nice, sturdy tip-on style jackets. The gatefold jacket for this particular bootleg is absolutely amazing, I have to say. It does feature a pretty cool gatefold with some live shots of the band. And inside, we also have an insert. Features quite a cool photo, along with some liner notes here. And it's a 2 LP set. I'm just going to take out one of the LPs because it's basically the same across the board. This particular album comes pressed on sort of, I guess you could say, almost like a marbled pink kind of vinyl. It's like a purple and pink combo. Very, very nice. Nice label too, which is quite cool. And then there's a custom sign right here. So very, very solid. But even though I say that a couple of tracks appeared on the deluxe Heaven and Hell, I'm not quite sure if there are any plans to release the full show in its entirety. I mean, I guess they perhaps have the ability to if they were able to get the couple of tracks. Maybe they'll do the whole thing. We shall see. But until then, this bootleg will serve me well. Black Sabbath, live in Hartford, 1980. Alright guys, so here are some records that I picked up over at Sky Valley Records. It's been a hot minute since I last was there. I was there with my friend Chelsea. We were celebrating her birthday, and I had given her a gift certificate to the store since she does love the store. So after spending a day at the beach and stopping at a local brewery, we decided to go to the store and pick up a few things. And of course, we mainly went for her sake so she can get some records for herself with a gift certificate. But of course, I managed to find some stuff for me. And one of the records that I picked up, building upon my Nirvana bootleg collection, is this release here. This is called Broadcasting Live KAOS FM April 17th, 1987 and SNL TV 1992. The radio broadcast on this release from 1987 is relatively common. It's been bootlegged many times. Features some tracks off of their first album, such as their cover of Love Buzz, Floyd the Barber, Downer, and then we have some really early Nirvana cuts on here, such as Mexican Seafood, Hairspray Queen, Pen Cap Chew, which was actually one of Nirvana's early band names before they settled on Nirvana. And then we have the Saturday Night Live tracks from 1992, which are Rate Me, Smells Like Teen Spirit, Territorial Pissings, and Heart-Shaped Box. So those two, recordings circulate quite commonly in the bootleg circles, and the label DOL put this out. So this is kind of like a legal bootleg. It's not sanctioned. You get the gist. I've talked about legal bootlegs before. But what's cool with this pressing is that it comes pressed on green vinyl, which is very nice indeed. And very happy to get my hands on this particular Nirvana bootleg and build my Nirvana bootleg collection. And the next record that I picked up is also a bit of a live release. Shockingly enough, I did not have any live albums by this particular band on vinyl, and I've been on a bit of a kick with these guys lately. And when I saw this and I saw the track list, I figured this would be a nice addition to have. But they had two releases that were in close proximity in terms of the recording dates. And I went with this one because the set list I felt was just a little better. What band am I talking about? It is one of the big four in thrash metal. It is Metallica, live at House of Vans, London, England, November 18th, 2016. They did a couple of promo gigs in 2016 when they put out their most recent studio album, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. And they put out some of these shows on vinyl. There was this show, and then there was another one. It's not coming to mind. It's at the top of my head. But they had this one and that show, and it was kind of a battle of seeing which one I was going to leave with, because I was listening to a lot of Metallica at the time, and I figured I would get some Metallica vinyl in my collection and also get my first live Metallica album, which is really awesome. And it is a 3 LP set, and it is a limited edition pressing, and the hype sticker stated that it was mastered for vinyl. The track list features Bread Fan, Four Horsemen, Battery, Fade to Black, At Last Rise, Harvester of Sorrow, Moth into the Flame, their cover of Whiskey in the Jar, Room the Bell Tolls, Seek and Destroy. I mean, it's all killer stuff here. It does come with a cool photo as part of the gatefold. And there's also an insert as well, which is quite cool. All the credits are on this side, and then we have some photos taken from the show on this side. All 3 LPs are basically the same across the board, so I'm just going to showcase one of them. But here is the first LP. Comes with a nice custom center label, pressed at Palace, or as the Dead Wax states, made on the Metalla press, which I've been kind of curious to see what exactly that meant. I'm guessing maybe they own a stake at the Palace pressing plant over in Europe. I'm not quite sure. Maybe they have some presses that exclusively press up Metallica records. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to do some research. But nonetheless, very happy to get my hands on some live Metallica with Live at House of Vans. Alright guys, so here is a rather different record that you wouldn't necessarily see me showcase on the regular in my videos or in my collection. I guess it just goes to show that I am very unpredictable when it comes to my music tastes and what I am into and what I am setting out to get. I'm going to showcase the record on camera first, and then I will explain the significance as to what it means to me and why I wanted it for my collection. It is an album called Adelso. This is a collaborative album by musicians Andreas Soderstrom and Rickard Jäverling. This is basically an acoustic-driven ambient record. It's very meditative, very cerebral. This is the great kind of record that you can put on a rainy morning, or if you're just in a very deep, reflective state. It is an absolutely beautiful record, and I owe a bunch of gratitude to my best friend Chelsea that I've mentioned many times in my videos. She's appeared on camera a few times, and yes, I promise a full-length video with her will be coming to the channel very soon in the foreseeable future. She is the one that made me aware of this album, and a couple summers back, we were hanging out at her pool, and she had played me some selections off of this album, and then we basically just put it on shuffle, and we floated in the pool for the majority of the day while listening to this album. And I could not have imagined a better soundtrack than that. I mean, that just goes to show when it comes to records and just music alone, how when you think back to when you first heard these things, it just places you in a certain moment in time. And that is exactly what this record is to me. And for the longest time, I wanted a vinyl copy of it. Now, granted, this is on a label called Flora Fauna, which is based in Europe, I believe in Sweden. Correct me if I'm wrong. And copies were available on vinyl through their Bandcamp page, and I kind of thought that it would just still be around for a while, and I didn't jump on it when it was still up. And then later on, it sold out, and I just could not find copies anywhere. And it's kind of funny how I managed to snag a copy of it, because I added it in my Discogs want list, and I got an email saying that there was a seller that had a copy up for grabs, a mint copy too, still sealed, but the seller was in Norway. And when I did the math, it wasn't a crazy amount. But coincidentally, when I purchased it, which was right before I left for my Yosemite trip, I was actually hanging out with Chelsea, and she was there in the moment when I purchased this record. And there's just a lot of deep connection in terms of our friendship and this record. And I did make a promise to play this with her in person in front of the turntables. So when that day comes is when I'll be playing this record. But very stoked to have it. Right off the bat, the standout track on this album is a track called Nora Uden. It's absolutely beautiful, beautiful stuff. You need to seek this out. It's up on Bandcamp and Spotify. You need to check it out. Absolutely love the painting that consists of the front cover. And then here is the back. And the record itself comes pressed on white vinyl, which is very, very nice. And I am going to be very excited when I get the chance to play this with Chelsea. So very, very awesome stuff. And then once I get the record back in the sleeve, then we will go back into some familiar territory. Of course, one of the perks with working at the record store now is that I'm able to order stuff for the store. And of course, you always have to think for yourself. I ordered several copies of this particular record with the almost intention of myself buying a copy and also getting a copy for my good friend Mike over at Retrospin Vinyl, since we are both huge fans of this band. And I kind of made a pact with him once again, like I did with the John Lennon Plastic Ono Band anniversary release, was that when he decided to get his copy and just send me the funds via PayPal, I would get myself a copy. And sure enough, owned up to my end of the deal. This is Dream Theater, Live at the Marquee. This is a live EP that came out back in 1993. This is during the Images and Words era of Dream Theater. A really solid EP overall. It's a shame that they did not put out like a full-length live album at the time. They've done like official bootlegs and other releases of sorts, but it's cool that we have a live release by the lineup of James LaBrie, Mike Portnoy, John Petrucci, John Myung, and Kevin Moore. Features Metropolis, Fortune and Lies, Bombay Vindaloo, which only appears on this EP, Surrounded, Another Hand, The Killing Hand, and Pull Me Under. 6 tracks. gets the job done. This was put out by Music on Vinyl, and this is also limited and numbered, as you can see there. I have copy number 1253, and right off the bat, I did cut out the hype sticker that appeared on the resealable sleeve that it came in. I'm not a fan of the sleeves, but I really wanted to salvage the hype sticker. We have an insert here, which has all the credits for the release. And then there's another insert, which basically has all of the Music on Vinyl Dream Theater reissues that they have done. And unfortunately, some of these are really hard to come by. Some of them are out of print, and I really wish I did not sleep on some of them because I need to fill in some gaps in my Dream Theater collection. But that is pretty cool. And this pressing comes pressed on red vinyl, and there's that ACO label right there. So very glad that I got my hands on this. I've kind of had my eye on it for some time, and it's still always relatively been available, and I figured I would get some copies in for the store and just get some Dream Theater in at the store in general. Nonetheless, can't wait to spin it. Dream Theater live at the marquee. All right, guys, Roland Rex is dropping the heat once again. This is a record right here that I have been wanting for a number of years. And I'm sure a lot of people have been wanting copies as well, because this album did get a one-time vinyl pressing back when it came out initially in 2003. Copies go for $400+. And I figured an unofficial pressing would come out of the woodwork at some point, and sure enough, this is one of the first unofficial pressings that are out there of this album, and I was one of the select few people that managed to get their hands on a copy when the link went live on Roland Rex, and it literally sold out in 3 minutes, which is absolutely insane. What record am I talking about? It is this album here. This is AFI, Sing the Sorrow. Now, let me go on record saying that I am not the world's biggest AFI fan, and that's not to do with me not liking their other work. I'm aware that they have had a rather long history being predominant in the post-hardcore and emo genres, and this right here was kind of like their big kind of breakthrough kind of record. I have a lot of fondness for this album. My dad has this on CD, and I remember a lot of my middle school years listening to this CD on the way to school. So like the big highlights on this album are The Leaving Song Part 2, Silver and Cold, Dancing Through Sunday, Girls Not Grey was the big single off of this. This is just an absolutely phenomenal emo rock album from the early 2000s. And sure, it might be unofficial, but I'm just glad to have a copy. Who knows? Maybe they'll reissue it properly later on down the road. But this is really awesome. Here is the front and back. And it is a 2 LP set, as you can see right here. And we do have an insert with some artwork. So on this side, they use the front cover. And then we have some imagery on the back, as well as some band photographs here. Now, I'm just going to take out one of the LPs because it's the same across the board. But as you can see, we do have some nice custom center labels. And it does come pressed on red vinyl, which is very nice, and the original pressing got pressed on red vinyl as well, so it's kind of, I guess, keeping it somewhat unison, but obviously you got to train your eye to really distinguish what is official and what's unofficial. I can just tell right off the bat, you know, the cover is a little pixelated in some areas. You know, that's just kind of the nature of these kind of releases, but regardless, I am happy to just have a copy of this album, and I cannot wait to spin it on the turntable. AFI's Sing the Sorrow. Alright guys, the Eagle has landed. I have been super stoked about this release since it was announced, and it seems like the people at the KISS camp are finally listening. I don't know if maybe they saw a certain someone's videos on YouTube unboxing lavishly, beautifully curated box sets of various audience recordings. I don't know, but we are finally getting something among those lines, and it is their official bootleg series called Off the Soundboard, so we can obviously assume that it's going to be absolutely outstanding audio content if it's going to be from the soundboard. And this first release here that we have is taken from a show from Tokyo in 2001 during the Farewell Tour, which features the very short-lived but very dynamic lineup of Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley and Eric Singer. They only did the Japanese tour, an Australian tour, as well as the appearance for the Olympics. And that was basically it. It was kind of in the middle of a very interesting period where just kind of Ace and Peter were kind of tag teaming, you know, back and forth in the lineup. So it's cool to see a proper release from this short-lived lineup. And also, it's a rather well-known show, too, because it was broadcasted on radio. It was in the legal bootleg circles for a while, and I think copies are still available to this day. But since it's been given the official KISS stamp of approval, obviously this is superior product. So very awesome to see here, and I really like what they did with the artwork. I mean, granted, I have to say it, the packaging of this is not like what we have seen with the KISS Chronicles box sets that I have unboxed, but what I like about it and what I can appreciate is the fact that it just gives off that old school kind of bootleg aesthetic, because as you can see, it just comes in like a nice kind of cardboard kind of sleeve, and it has like a black stamp with the Off the Soundboard emblem. And here is the track list as well. And I have to say the track list to this is outstanding. Of course, you know, you get Detroit Rock City, Do Shout It Out Loud. Talk to Me from Unmasked is on here, which is fantastic. Heaven's on Fire, Do You Love Me, Firehouse, Psycho Circus. Paul does a little bit of I Still Love You from Creatures of the Night Before, Black Diamond, which is just fantastic stuff. I'm really excited to see what other shows they plan to be releasing as part of this series, because I will snag them all up. So here is the artwork, and also here is the spine of the box. And of course, I got the limited colored variant that was available from kissonline.com, and I will show you what it looks like. And basically, each record comes with its own track list of what is on the respective LPs. And then also all the credits are here, and it's also where I put the hype sticker. And I'm just going to be taking out the first record just so you can get a general idea on what it is going to look like. They do come in paper sleeves, which they could have done poly-lined, but I digress. But the color variant that was available from kissonline.com comes on this really interesting white inside clear vinyl, which is pretty cool. And it's unique too, because not one is going to look the same from the other. It's going to be rather different across the board, and I do like the kind of basic white labels on here, which is very nice. I think, you know, the presentation overall, when you're thinking about old school bootlegs of the day, you know, it's very much paying homage to that. And that is what I can appreciate with this. But of course, it's all about the performances, and of course, the sound quality, I'm sure, is going to be fantastic. Actually, it is fantastic, because for a while I held off on listening to this until I got my vinyl copy, but then I put it on Spotify in the record store that I work at, and I was enjoying it very much. So I can't wait to experience it on the turntable with my setup. Going to be an absolute blast. KISS, Off the Soundboard, Tokyo 2001. Alright guys, so here is a relatively new release that just came out fairly recently. The CD version came out about a month ago in late May, and now we have the vinyl version about a month later. And I pre-ordered this from the band's Labels website because they had a pretty cool color variant available, and if you know me, I'm all about colored vinyl. This is the newest live release from Kansas. This is called Point of No Return Live and Beyond. This kind of follows the same thing that they did with their last live album, Leftoverture Live and Beyond, where they basically perform the album in its entirety along with some other classics. And between Leftoverture and Point of No Return, those are perhaps the two go-to Kansas albums to get like the full start-to-finish treatment live in concert, and it's cool to see them do another live release focused around this particular album. And just off the top of my head, you know, with Point of No Return, you have the title track, Paradox, Portrait, Dust in the Wind, of course, classic rock radio staple, and then Closet Chronicles, which is one of my personal favorites, Sparks of the Tempest, fantastic record. And then, of course, we have some other tracks on here, such as, of course, Carry On Wayward Son, Miracles Out of Nowhere, People of the Southwind from Monolith, which is a cool addition, 2 Cents Worth, a deep cut from the Mask album, which is pretty cool, Song for America, Musicato, just great stuff, and it's cool to see them give this album that live start-to-finish treatment. And as you can see with the artwork, they kind of take some elements from the original album art, kind of modernize it a little bit, make it a little different. And the way that it's packaged is that we have a box right here, and all the contents are inside. So we have an insert here, cool live shot with various band photographs and credits. And the way they have this designed is that it's a 3 LP set. We have a gatefold 2 LP collection here, and then we have a single 3rd LP. So I'll just showcase the gatefold first, which has the main artwork from the box. Gatefold sleeve opens up, a couple live shots with the band, as well as credits and where each song was recorded. And then we have the 3rd LP, which has some more artwork here, which is very nice. And this particular pressing was exclusive to the label's website. It's limited to, I think, 300 copies. It's not a large amount. And it comes pressed on sort of Coke bottle, seafoam green colored vinyl with a nice custom label. And this color is consistent across the release. So this is the 1 LP that I'll show. Basically looks rather unison across the board, and definitely excited to be spinning this new live offering from Kansas. Point of no return, Live and Beyond. All right, guys, so here is a record that I picked up over at the record store that I work at. The big boss came in for a visit, and he brought in 5 boxes of imports. And if you are a seasoned record store shopper, you know exactly what entails with imports. Call them unofficial pressings, call them bootlegs, call them what you will. If you're a longtime viewer of this channel, you know that I am a big buyer and collector of those types of pressings. And in the case of this album, this is an official album that did come out back in the 80s, but it never has received a vinyl reissue. And I don't know if it ever will get a vinyl reissue. It's hard to tell in the future, because this is the era that this particular band tends to not focus on when it comes to reissuing their catalogs on vinyl. Who's to say they'll maybe do it in the future? What exactly am I talking about? It is the godfathers of metal, Black Sabbath, and this is their album Born Again. This came out back in 1983, and the lineup that is featured on this album is surely a one-off. We have Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, and in the vocalist spot, we have Deep Purple vocalist Ian Gillan. Apparently, after drinking with the guys from Sabbath one night, he got very drunk, and apparently the next morning he was in the band, and the rest is history. And some really solid tracks on here, such as Trashed, Disturbing the Priest, which has some of Ian Gillan's most haunting screams ever caught to tape, Zero the Hero, Digital Bitch, really solid tunes. It's definitely different. You know, Ian Gillan does give a very different style vocal delivery compared to what was seen with Ozzy and Dio. I don't know. They tried something different, and of course, there's all kinds of stories with the resulting tour that ensued from this album. They had a Stonehenge stage set where instead of having it be certain amount of feet high, it was meters, and it was way too big to transport. And of course, that story was immortalized in the film Spinal Tap, where the Stonehenge set was small than it was supposed to be big. It's hilarious, but it all stems from these guys, and absolutely dig the album cover. It's so bad, it's so good. It's one of those cases, really freaky indeed. And of course, here is the back. There are the guys right there. And I believe this is a recently released unofficial pressing, because I believe I saw this on Rollin' Rex, and I kind of acknowledged it, but when I saw it in person, I was like, you know what, let's have some fun here, and I got a very sweet deal on it as well. And what I like about this particular pressing is that it comes with a very nice insert here, which features a very in-depth write-up talking about this particular era of Sabbath. And there's a picture of the band right there. And we also have a track-by-track breakdown, which talks about the tracks, which is very nice indeed. And this particular pressing comes pressed on purple vinyl. You can kind of make it out depending on the angle. It's very deceiving. When I opened it, I thought it was a black vinyl pressing, but it is purple. You can kind of see it there. But there we have some nice labels, and we have that Devil Baby featured on this side as well. So yeah, just to kind of comment again with what I was saying earlier, it's always the Ozzy years and the Dio years that tend to get a lot of emphasis, and I believe they did a deluxe CD version of this in like the early 2010s. But in terms of vinyl, nothing was ever done. So kind of curious if maybe they'll touch up on this era later on down the road. But if not, I am very glad to have this unofficial pressing of Black Sabbath Born Again. Alright guys, so here is a little bit of a life update. Normally I would put this in the beginning of the video, but instead I'm doing it now just because there's a record that kind of corresponds with this particular life achievement. After 3 hardworking years, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in music business from Berklee College of Music. Yes, a very prestigious school indeed. Initially, it was a bit of an afterthought to attend there, but needless to say, given the alumni and their low acceptance rate, it was truly an honor to be a part of such a prestigious academic entity. And I decided to treat myself because when do I ever not treat myself? This right here is a reissue that I have been wanting for a very long time. We got copies in at the store. Didn't necessarily forget that it was coming out, but I remember I specifically ordered it for the store, and then everything just kind of made sense in terms of the record and also just what it all kind of correlates to. So of course, because I finished school, that means School's Out by Alice Cooper. Now, this right here is the new reissue that was done by Friday Music. Friday Music did a pressing of this back in 2009, just a standard gatefold and whatnot. But this right here is a full-on bells and whistles reissue, because as you can see, replicates the desk artwork perfectly. Here's the back with the pop-out legs. And I'm not going to take out everything because, believe me, it took time to assemble this. I'm going to try my best to have it not slip out of the sleeve. But look at it. Comes with the panties, the desk gatefold. I mean, literally, they replicated this to the T. And for the longest time, I kind of figured that maybe Rhino would have a hand at doing this type of reissue for like a Rocktober series or one of their campaigns. Looks like Friday Music jumped the gun, and I will say, you know, Friday Music, when it comes to sound quality, it's kind of hit or miss depending. This, I can gladly say, sounds absolutely solid. If you're looking for a bells and whistles clean version of School's Out, this is the version to get. So happy to finally have it in the collection and to celebrate the fact that simply, for me, School's Out. All right, guys, we are going to be wrapping this haul up on a rather cool note. So as you saw in the beginning of the video, I met up with my good friend Mike over at Retro Spin Vinyl up in his neck of the woods in North Jersey, as I am residing in South Jersey. Spent the day hanging out, had some brews, we had some food, poolside jams, and of course we did some record shopping. We went to the infamous Spin Me Round in Pennsylvania. It is a rather reputable record store, very heavy presence on social media and online. I always see their stuff all the time, and I've been wanting to check out the store for a very long time, and left with some awesome things. So first up, I picked up The Runaways live at the Agora Ballroom in Cleveland, 1976. This is a radio broadcast that I personally would never think I would find on vinyl. Pressings came out a little while ago. This is from 2015, and usually with these legal bootleg type releases, once they disappear, you just don't really see them again. But I did manage to find it. It is a fantastic show. A lot of stuff from their first album, which is right up my alley because the Runaways self-titled debut is one of my favorites. California Paradise, Cherry Bomb, You Drive Me Wild, Dead End Justice, one of my personal favorites, closes this. Really, really solid release. And this comes on the label Vinyl Lovers, and it has a pretty cool custom label there. So really happy to have got my hands on this particular Runaways release. And then I came across this record, and this is a record that I was wanting for a while, and then I kind of forgot about it. And when I saw it, it just registered, and I said, absolutely must pick that up. This is kind of one of those collection kind of standards, I guess you could say. It belongs in every collection, and also I do love me some Detroit garage rock. Talking about the MC5 Kick Out the Jams live album, debut album, whatever you want to call it, has that rather infamous intro at the beginning of the title track. Right now it's time to kick out the jams, mother. So very happy to get my hands on this. This is a Rhino pressing that they did for Start Your Ear Off Right in 2020. and does come with the replica Elektra stock inner sleeve. But what's really awesome about this pressing, I want to get it out very carefully because it's kind of snug in the paper. There we go. Check it out. This comes on white vinyl with red and blue splatter. They should just call this patriotic vinyl just because it has the colors of the American flag. But no, very happy to have gotten my hands on this particular pressing. I remember I was really wanting it like about a year ago. I was on a hunt for it, and I never came across it, and I kind of forgot about it. And sure enough, caught my eye, had to snag it. And then this was a bit of just a impulse on the spot kind of thing. This is what made me kind of overspend a little bit. Nothing too crazy, but I saw it. I'm like, you know what? Let me check it out. This is something that I've been kind of intrigued with, because if you've been watching my channel for a while, I haven't mentioned them too much lately, but I do love the Brown Acid series that Riding Easy Records does. This is somewhat in a similar vein, and I'm sure you guys can recognize this. This is Nuggets, original artifacts from the first psychedelic era, 1965 to 68. Elektra put this out in 1972, and it just features 2 LPs worth of, you know, classic psychedelic stuff from the mid to late 60s. Some of the notable artists that appear on this compilation are the Electric Prunes. We also have 13-4 Elevators, The Leaves, the Naz, which features Todd Rundgren. Some really interesting stuff. And it's funny, I was asking Mike, I'm like, all right, name me some of these artists. Is this worthy of getting? And he said, absolutely. So I'm going to be getting schooled when it comes to some of the more obscure psychedelic stuff that I am not too aware of, to be quite honest with you. And 2 LP set. Rhino had also put this out earlier this year in 2021 for their Start Your Ear Off Right campaign. And right off the bat, there is an insert, which has a brief write-up and track list. And the labels come with the Butterfly Elektra label there. So very happy to get my hands on this and dig into some classic psychedelic rock with Nuggets, original artifacts from the first psychedelic era. So there you guys go. That is my vinyl haul of all the records that I acquired within the month of June this year in 2021. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support this channel, be sure to check me out on Patreon. See you guys in the next video. And most importantly, keep the records spinning.